Hey you guys, I just wanted to make this quick video about how I expedite my low calorie, delicious, and nutritious protein ice cream. Okay, so I pre make the dry ingredients in containers so I can literally grab a container, dump it in the blender in the liquid. Okay, so of course you can't pre-measure the liquid because it needs to be kept in the refrigerator, but I can really quick with my food scale. Let me get it. Hang on. Okay, so I got my food scale set up here. So I can very quickly measure the liquid, okay, that goes into my protein ice cream. But what takes a little bit more time is all that weighing and measuring the protein powder. I use excess protein powder. I'm not showing it here, but I've got the PB2, okay, so it's 13 grams of either one of these, okay, that I put in there for nutty flavor, depending on what I have a taste for. I use a half a teaspoon of that, and I use usually about 20 to 30 grams of that monk fruit sweetener. And so these are my dry ingredients, along with the protein powder that's not shown. And I just pre-package it in these ready-to-go containers. Okay, so I don't have to weigh all that stuff out every single time. And then even when I know I'm really in a pinch, okay, so if I have a lot of clients working, not really working right now, so I have a lot more time in my hands. But if I was in pre-pandemic mode, okay, when I was working a lot, I would also pre-package and have ready to go in Ziploc freezer bags the wet ingredients too. So that would be the um, frozen fruit, 50 calories worth, the ice, which matches in weight the frozen fruit. So, for example, if 50 calories worth of frozen fruit is 140 grams, and I would make sure to add 140 grams of ice. And then that 17 grams of frozen baby romaine, I can freeze that. It freezes beautifully. So I would also have that on deck ready to go. But I just wanted to show you how, you can make these. You can make like 20 of these for the whole week and you're ready to go. You don't have to keep remeasuring and all that stuff. You can just go and do it all in one Sunday afternoon and then get it over with. So during the week when you're busy with work and so forth and children and, husbands and wives and family, all that stuff, you can just grab it, dump it in, blend it, and go. Okay. And I can't say enough about how this book really informed me about that fat carb combination. Okay. So you guys, the food companies are running a scam. And I really want to talk about this because there is a disparity. We are talking what the world is up in arms about are inequities and disparities and things like that. Well, there is a huge disparity when it comes to metabolic syndrome in the African American community. I happen to be African American, Black, okay? And one of the main reasons that we are having this, aside from the psychological issues and some spiritual issues and some internal challenges that we've had, okay, that is at the forefront. But when it comes to the nuts and bolts nutrition piece of things, a lot of what we eat is the type of food that you eat when you're preparing to hibernate. So, what do you have for Thanksgiving dinner? A typical African American Thanksgiving dinner: macaroni and cheese. What is that? Fats and carbs together. You can't stop eating it. What do we have at all kinds of family functions in the Black community, in the African American community? Desserts. My favorite is pound cake. What is pound cake? Fat and carb together. Okay. When I think about the things that we consider comfort foods, things that are actually, inherent to our culture in terms of feeding, a lot of it has to do with comforting the spirit, because eating in preparation for winter is actually quite comforting. Okay. So it fattens you up and you feel good while you're doing it, but it's not the best if you're trying to avoid metabolic syndrome, obesity, diabetes, cancer, all of that. So I can't recommend this book enough. It is awesome. It explains how we should not eat fats and carbs together. In the previous video, I talked about how the fat carb combination is typically in ancient times in the wild, when all we had were, we ran around with a spear, to kill animals. That was what we did to get food. There was no going to the grocery store. There were no refrigerators back then. So we would get carbs from juicy, ripe, delicious fruit at the end of the summer and in early fall. And we would get fats from nuts and also fats from fatty cuts of meat, because the animals had been fattening themselves up all winter. Okay, so they had a lot of fat on them. So we would eat fruit with fatty meat, fruit with nuts, and we would get fatter, so that when there were periods of time in the winter where there was no food or very little food, we didn't starve. We would just eat the body fat that we had stored, just like animals who hibernate. And a lot of us, as Black people, we have stored up a whole lot of body fat on our bodies in preparation for the winter that's never coming. Okay, so I highly recommend that you take a look at this. And I want to be clear. I am not discounting the spiritual work and the psychological work that is behind resolving the health disparities within our community. This is just the nuts and bolts nutrition, but I realize that there is more to it than just the food. Okay? There's something going on with emotions and self-love and self-awareness and understanding. There's something else going on there that needs to be worked on. But this is the nuts and bolts nutrition piece of things. And I need you guys to remember and to know that the food companies are in the business of selling more and more of their products. How do they get us to eat more? They combine fats and carbohydrates. That's what makes it hard to put that bag of Doritos down. That's what makes it difficult to stop it with the pint of ice cream. That is what makes it hard to not have a really fatty cut of steak with that baked potato. Fat and carb together make it hard to stop eating. You are going to overeat. And they know this. They know it creates the bliss point that initiates the gorge. Okay? So that's all for now. Hope this helps you. Yeah, get this book, take a look at it, and prepare your dry ingredients for your protein ice cream. Thank me later. Bye now.